Many interchange the term habit and addiction due to the connections in their definitions. Today we're going to distinguish their similarities and differences while also identifying psychological theories explaining their functioning. A researcher found that a shocking 40 to 45% of our daily behavior constitutes a habit. A habit is a routine, automated behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur in the subconscious mind that becomes harder to give up the longer that behavior goes on. Different to addiction, a habit can be either a positive or a negative behavior. Every habit follows the same process. This is known as the habit loop. Addiction is a physical or psychological need to do, take, or use something to the point where it has negative consequences. The three C's, control, cravings, and consequences, are used to help distinguish between a habit and an addiction. Addiction is categorized under two main headings: a substance use disorder, which releases the neurotransmitter chemical dopamine causing the repeated use, and behavioral addiction, which produces a short-term reward which may result in persistent repeated behavior. The arousal theory of motivation can be linked to the habit loop, as it links levels of arousal as potential motivators to eliminate psychological drive. The theory uses dopamine as the primary factor for motivation in the body. The arousal theory is described as the body being motivated to engage in a behavior to fulfill an unsatisfied drive. An experiment conducted by Milner and Olds in the 1950s involved a rat choosing between different levers that resulted in either a release of a reward stimulus or objects for survival. This study provided evidence that animals are motivated to perform behaviors that stimulate dopamine release in the reward center of the brain. The main idea of the excessive appetite model is that addictions are a type of extreme appetites rather than a form of dependency as seen with substance abuse. Addiction is described as a largely psychological process rather than a physical disease. Addiction can occur in response to a wide range of different behaviors, not just to alcohol and other drugs. The excessive appetite model focuses on cravings motivating addiction, with the theory identifying that an addiction has a negative consequence whether to the individual themselves or to the people around them. The easiest distinguisher between a habit and an addiction is the negative consequences associated with addiction. A habit can be both good and bad, while an addiction can only have negative consequences. A habit is classed as repetitive behavior, often performed autonomously. An addiction is a craving that drives that certain behavior to be performed. Both are run by the habit loop, with the only difference being when the craving becomes overwhelming and interrupts the individual's thoughts and daily activities. A habit can easily be broken by identifying the reward gained from the behavior and breaking the habit loop. Switching a bad habit for a good one can help stop the progression to an addiction, causing negative consequences for the individual and those around them. For more information on the topic, head to the Wikiversity page, Habit versus Addiction.